back to the Director's Garage. I am your host and resident idiot, Michael, and I've got some work to do. We are playing catch up, but I'm so excited because of today's What's in the Box. I have a headphone here that I have coveted since episode number 1. Yep, but it's been sitting in the Director's Garage gathering dust for several weeks now. It came from a viewer, and today we're going to find out what's in it, and then we're going to explore the headphone in a sound check. We're going to hear how it sounds, but first I'm going to get to a headline. Cue it. Now, sad to report that Capitol Records is closing its mastering and tape restoration facilities at the famed Capitol Records building in Hollywood. This is an iconic space. It's hallowed ground, and I'm sad to see any work at all being taken away from this location. The silver lining is the studios are going to remain open. I've sat in on sessions and directed video shoots in Studio A, where Sinatra recorded his iconic records, and Studio B, where Nat King Cole's piano sits to this day. I've shot on the rooftop several times, including a Katy Perry shoot in the middle of the night. It's just disheartening to see even a part of this space close. They have 2 Neumann lathes there for cutting vinyl. It's reported that the equipment's going to stay, but apparently all of this is about cutting staff, and it's not affecting their mastering divisions in other locations. I don't quite understand that. So that's your unfortunate headline for today. So let's move on to some happier things, and let's turn our attention to what's in this box. It's very well taped and remarkably heavy. I gotta give a huge shout out to viewer Rodrigo. He sent me his prized IEM for me to review. And stick around to the end of the episode because you'll have a chance to pick this headphone up for yourself. I have been stalking eBay for a deal on this one, but Rodrigo stepped up and he took one for the team. So everyone, let's crack a beer or whatever beverage you happen to have next to you, and let's tip a cup to Rodrigo for making this episode possible. I mean, hey, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. Let's get it started, right?
You don't see that every day.
It's hard iced tea.
Wow, that was freaky.
I'm a lightweight. Let's start investigating because I got the knife, the magic knife. Magic. Let's start cutting. Let's do some cutting and grinding. I can't tell you how long I've waited for this. The anticipation to hear what is in this is killing me. It's killing me, and it's sat over there for weeks. It's not from Amazon Prime, I promise. But you know, this is kind of a commercial suddenly for Amazon Prime. Amazon, you want to call me? Hook me up? Sent it with the box and everything. You ready for this? This is gonna be big. Bubble wrap. You ready? You ready? Oh, this. The Sony IER-Z1R. I can't believe it's in my hands. I mean, you don't know the anticipation. And this is one of the most requested Director's Garage reviews. So I'm super excited. This is flagship territory here, and I've never heard it. I've never heard this headphone, and I just continue to hear great things. So I'm super excited to share with you guys this headphone right here. Let's take a look at how it's shipped. Okay, we got an outer sleeve here. This is hollow. Mahalo. And then, okay, so we got a nice Sony embossing here. This is kind of a trick box. I'm not sure how this, okay, we got magnets. And here we go. Oh, it popped out. It just kind of flopped on me. Someday there will be an unboxing that goes without a flaw. Okay, so we have a nice case here. This is it, and the case is, wow, this is really interesting. That's kind of bizarre. So in here, I'm assuming is going to be the headphone. Let's hold that for a second, and let's take a look at what's in the drawer. Okay, we've got a cable, And this has got the whatever letters. It's a 3.5. Now here's something that's cool. Now these are, this drawer pulls out, and these are all magnetically stacked, it looks like. So you can kind of get to the next layers. Oh, there's a 4.4. This is great. This is fantastic. I love to see Sony doing this, because this means we can drive this thing balanced and put some juice into it. What I know about the IER-Z1R is that the base is very heavy on it, and I'm imagining that it's going to take a little bit of juice. So it's great to see that Sony didn't just send the 3.5 inch, but the 4.4 that can really give us some a power option. So now we're down to the bottom layer here, and this one is a little trickier to, it's got a whole bunch of tips and ear tips and stuff, and then this would probably be some manuals and things and stickers and stuff like that. Yeah. All very well cared for. Rodrigo, thumbs up on the way you care for your gear. This stuff is kept intact, and it really helps with resale, and it's also a pleasure to open something that is this well cared for. So big, huge thumbs up. Another tip of the cup for Rodrigo for his gear. All right, if these were shots, I'd be drunk. Okay, we're down to it. Let's take a look at the Sony IER-Z1R right now. Oh, these are spectacular. Okay, so let's take a look and see if we can get a good zoom on these. And so these look like they're kind of like machined, like a rough surface, but it's actually not. This is actually a smooth plate with an etching in it, and it kind of reminds me of my 78 Trans Am, which had this rainbowy kind of effect on the dashboard. So this is kind of a throwback headphone for me at the moment. Very cool though, very cool. And they're heavy. They're made of metal. These aren't, I've paid a lot more attention to construction as I've been in this hobby now and doing this show. And when you get something like this, you really don't fear about dropping it or if it gets knocked around in a bag or something. I don't feel like this is going to scratch or it's going to implode or get destroyed, whereas some of the plasticky ones, I start to worry about that now a little more. Let's go live to the Cayin N8, which is right here. We're going to power this guy up. I really like the N8. I've come to appreciate it more and more. I still think that the SP1000 does a slightly better job at some of the things, but man, if you need power, the Cayin N8 has it, and it's clean and it sounds wonderful. So let's put these in real quick. Oh, they hold nicely. You don't feel the weight on them. They seem like they're going to feel heavier than they actually are. But these do have a nice fit to them. What do you say we get to some music? A little Lou Reed. Ooh. These like some power. The bass has a lot of impact right off the bat. You can really feel the bass impact on the drums. It's got a very clean top end. Not sure if it's bright or not. I got to get to something else that'll pull it out. I just love Dirty Boulevard. It's such a great song. All right, let's get to some Maca. The word that keeps coming into my head is clean. It's a very clean sound. But it's very forward. It sounds like everything is really forward and almost like a compression effect. It's got good imaging. There's stuff moving around very nicely across the soundstage, but it sounds maybe more intimate than wide. What it is to me, what I'm hearing is, you know how you have the commercial sound and then you've got the audiophile sound? These lean a little into the commercial sound to me. Like it's a very populist sound. It's not something that's necessarily as refined as I maybe had hoped. I can't say that I've heard much like this. And it's not, I don't mean that in a negative way. Sometimes you say, it's unlike anything I've ever heard, when you want to say it's pretty crappy. That's not the case here. It really is unusual. It's a different sound. The brights are very bright, but they're not shouty. It just seems like it's very presented to me. But it's time to get serious. Let's hear what this thing's got in the bass department. Ooh, ooh. Yeah, serious slam. Okay. I'm gonna pause here for a second. You remember when I auditioned the Odin, and I described it as if you walked into a showroom floor where they were selling very expensive television sets, but they had all the shit turned on them. So the brightness was turned up, the contrast was turned up, everything was just hyper turned up. That's these. These are very much that experience, but I would say that it lacks the detail and the finesse of the Odin. It lacks the soundstage of the Odin. I'm listening to these headphones and I'm starting to realize that the tuning isn't quite in the lane that I look for in a headphone. Now, what that does is it tends to make people think, oh, he thinks they suck, or they think, oh, it's a bad headphone. And I'm not. I try not to do that ever, because there are things about headphones that I appreciate, like the bass in this is just amazing, and the imaging in this headphone is terrific. The rest of the tuning isn't quite what I look for in a headphone, but I'm not going to say that the headphone's bad. What I'm going to say is that it's not for me, and that's okay, because there are people that rave about this headphone, and I can understand why after listening to them. There's an impressive effect that these have. But at $2,000, I'm looking for a little more finesse, and these are a blunt instrument. And for my taste, I look for something that has a more delicate approach to how it presents sound to me. So I just don't want you to get the impression that I'm saying that these headphones suck, because they don't. And in fact, they're very good, and I can tell by just the way they're built. There's a tremendous amount of research and a tremendous amount of engineering that went into them. The way they fit on your ear, the connectors, the build of these things. Somebody spent some serious effort to put this together, and I understand what they were going for. It doesn't mean that it's a bad headphone or you shouldn't buy them. I'm saying that they're not for me. Kabish. These are going to do wonderfully well on mainstream music, and I did even like these on the Lou Reed, because Lou Reed is more intimate and there wasn't as much soundstage or nuance to worry about. It was particularly on the New York record. I felt like it was like these really pulled that out. When I got to some of my more audiophile tracks, I felt like I was getting, my attention was getting shoved at me, like, hey, look over here and look over here and look over here all at once. So it didn't play with maybe some of my more favorite tracks as well. So let's talk about the sound qualities now. And when I talk about sound qualities, I'm talking about the bass, and I'm talking about the mids, and I'm talking about the treble. You know, it's in that order. So with the bass on these headphones is tremendous. It's a very full bass. It maybe goes a little bit on the boomy side from time to time. When we move into mids, I would say the mids are slightly elevated. It seems like it's shoving a lot at me in that mid-range. They don't seem to be getting too confused. I did sense a little bit of like pushing into a little bit of overmodulation at points, particularly in the Diana Crawl. I didn't expect to hear that. There's just a lot of mid presence there that maybe is a little out of my lane for what I look for in a tuning. And then you get into the upper mids, and those are all there. They're pushed high. It just seems like they sort of elevated activated everything at once on this headphone. And then let's finish off with the treble. And there's a lot of sparkle and a lot of stuff happening up top. It pushes a bit into the bright range for my taste, but it is all there. There's a lot of stuff happening up top. And I would say that these are really a winning sounding headphone. It's a very popular sound. It's something that I would very much expect from a company like Sony. I appreciate what these are. And on like pop, on rap, on EDM especially, I think that on EDM these things are going to be just insane. It's not music that I tend to go for. So, and when I listened to something like Diana Krall, there was a lot of echo and a lot of refraction happening, and I really did appreciate that. But it wasn't a tremendously open sound, and there wasn't a lot of room for things to kind of breathe. Whereas when we talk about the Sultan and I talk about the Odin, there's space there. But these get in your face a bit, and there's not a lot of romancing happening between me and the music. And for me, what I look for is that emotional connection. And I'm not quite getting the feels on this one that I would look for. And at $2,000, I want a little more connection and a little less salesmanship. And these are really trying to sell me on what they're playing me, it sounds like. Does that make sense? This is just stupid. Does any of this make sense? It is 2 in the morning and I'm pretty tired. So let's start bringing it home. I've talked about these qualities, and you can see I'm a little conflicted by this headphone. I understand why people love these, and I can get behind and support folks that go, this is really my sound. While I 100% appreciate and understand why people rave about these, I would say that these aren't for me. So they're not going to get my personal recommendation. I understand why people, but I do understand what people see in these, and I have no problem with somebody who says, hey, this is the thing for me. It's just, this isn't connecting me to the music that I most love. I was all set to buy a pair of these. Like I said, I've been stalking these because everybody says, look, gotta hear the Z1R, gotta hear the Z1R. So I'm like, oh, I do want to hear them because you guys are recommending them to me. And we have this discussion going through a camera and internets. So I want to pay attention when you guys say, hey, check this out, I really like it. And I understand why people like this. I'm glad that it saved me spending more money on stuff, because I've got a ton of stuff over there still to unbox. So I'm going to ask you to like and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and it's through growth that we get guys like Rodrigo to send us their headphones, and thanks to a shout out to Rodrigo again for lending me his jams, because these things are impressive. They do really well. It's not in the lane that I play, but it's a lane that I appreciate, and I loved hearing these today, and I'm glad I finally got to hear them. But it's with your participation and these likes and these subscribes that we grow the channel and get more people involved and get to hear more things like this. So your support means I can bring more episodes like this to you. Now, next up, we have an epic heavyweight title bout. Winner take all. I'm talking about my current hot category IEM, the Empire Ears Odin, and the challenger, the impressive, I'm doing sports, the impressive Noble Audio Sultan. Now, both of these headphones are in the $3,000 range. Both are exceptional, top-tier IEMs. I've just begun my comparison listening, and I've noted very different properties between the two, and I'm anxious to share with you what I've found. And a reminder, because there's a lot at stake here, the Sultan was provided to me, and that means if the Sultan wins, I am prying open my wallet and I'm dropping $3,000 of my hard-earned cash to buy the Sultan. And I'm going to sell the Odin to pay for it, which means there is no such thing as a free pass in this shootout. The Sultan has got to earn its way back here, and it's going to cost me money. Now, after that, we are going back into what's in the box territory. I have four 4 products sitting over here calling my name saying, open me, and I'm going, no, we're going to wait and do it on camera. Got to do that. One is a hot category over-ear, which I paid for myself with my own hard cash. I've got another uber expensive purchase sitting there that I'm anxious to unbox and demo. I want to hear it. And then we have 2 more, already 2 more Audio 46 products waiting in the wings. Those are going to be blind unboxings. I have no idea what they sent. I love doing those episodes because they are surprise for everyone, including me. So super fun ahead. Thank you for stopping by today, and a special shout out to Rodrigo, who sent me his prized Sony IER-Z1Rs. This is a headphone that I have been dying to hear since I started this show. I think it was in the very first set of comments was, you got to hear this headphone, and I finally did. Now, the tuning wasn't quite in my lane, but I totally appreciate, and these are for sale. If you're interested in picking up these Sony IER-Z1R, Rodrigo is your hookup. He's letting these go for only $1,400. That's a really good deal on these headphones. And if this played a little bit more into my lane, I would be all over this deal because it's a great sound, and you can see the quality of the headphone in the box and how he took care of them. I think it's a great deal. So contact me. I'll put you in touch with Rodrigo if you want it. Rodrigo, thank you for your patience. I know it took me a couple extra weeks to get to these, but I'm so appreciative, and they're on their way back to you, my friend, and the rest of you, I will see you before you know it.